Welcome to the Carl Jackson Show podcast on this Monday. This is your post-South Carolina primary show. Nikki Haley lost, and she lost big, but she promises to go forward. You have Ronna McDaniel. Ronna McDaniel has said she is going to resign as the RNC chair after Super Tuesday. So that is coming up. Also, what else do we have for you? We have that spy balloon. Well, we thought it was a spy balloon, a smaller balloon that was apparently crossing over parts of the United States of America. It was a small one. Apparently, it belonged to some type of hobbyist. However, I've not seen any reports of who it belonged to. So I really would like to know who it belonged to. I'd like to see that is confirmed. What else do we have? 60 Minutes. 60 Minutes reporters, they went to Sweden and they went into a no-go zone. We'll be playing video of that for you. They went into a Muslim no-go zone. And when the police were there escorting them, everything was hunky-dory and fine. They had people coming up to the cameras and talking and acting like they were all happy. But the moment the police officers left, you had some hoodlums that kind of masked themselves so they couldn't be seen with the cameras, and then they started assaulting the crew of 60 Minutes. So we have that for you, and I'm going to talk about that as well as the young University of Georgia student Laken Riley, who was allegedly murdered by an illegal alien who was working at the University of Georgia campus. His brother was working there as well, but his brother got fired after they realized he had a fake green card, no crap, crim lock. So anyway, all of that and more coming up on the Carl Jackson Show. I think I think here's where I want to start. Let's start with this story of Laken Riley, because guys, this story is so frustrating. I feel for the people. I feel for the parents of Laken Riley. I can't even imagine, and it goes hand in hand with this story in Sweden with 60 Minutes, because I think what we're trying to do is many people, many Americans, even many liberals believe, and I'm not saying that Laken Riley was a liberal. I don't know that story, but definitely in 60 Minutes, I believe they're liberal. That somehow we can coexist with people that don't want to assimilate into the United States of America, or some people like Muslims that have a totally different worldview. It's a touchy subject. I understand people don't want to talk about it, but it's based upon worldview. And this is why we can't just bring anybody into the country. What Joe Biden and the globalists are doing with illegal immigration is they are getting rid of citizenship. They are diluting citizenship. I'll read briefly from a column of Victor Davis Hanson. He talked about this quite some time ago. I've actually talked about it in the past, but it's the dying citizen of the United States of America. And honestly, that is what Laken Riley fell victim of. Laken Riley is dead because of Joe Biden's open border policy. Carl, you're just making this political. No, the left made it political by keeping the borders open. Joe Biden made it political by keeping the borders open. Laken Riley is a casualty of the war on American citizenship. And that's a good title, Gabe. I think make sure I don't forget that, because that's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with a war that the left, the communists in the Democrat Party, and the globalists have waged against American citizens. And they want to destroy what it means to be a citizen. They want you to be a serf. And that's where we're headed. That's what we see with Laken Riley. So Laken Riley, a nursing student, promising student on the dean's list at the University of Georgia, doing well, liked by everyone. I think I read that I don't remember reading about a dad. Maybe her dad is in the picture. I don't know. I don't remember reading about it. But her mom, some of her siblings, just talking about what a wonderful, nice person she was, apparently of a religious background too. This guy was working, apparently the murderer was working, alleged murderer, in the dining area, noticed her. It wasn't a premeditated murder. This guy, hey, he wanted her. And now she's dead. An illegal alien who crossed into our country, or invaded our country illegally in September of 2022. He was arrested in New York City in, I think it was September of 2022. Anyway, he came in 2022, came into the country, broke into our country. In 2023, he was arrested for an assault on a kid of some sort. All right. And then he was released from that because that happened in New York City. So when you assault a kid, apparently in New York City, even that, you can walk away from bail. This guy moves to Athens, Georgia. He moves right near the campus. He gets a job on campus, and then he kills Laken Riley a few months later. Not everyone that's coming into this country illegally is bad, but no one should be coming into this country illegally, because many of them are. And many of them are because you've heard Trump say it and people try to scorn and laugh. And no, they're not bringing their best. The best of the best are not coming here. Otherwise, they would be coming legally. All right. That's just not happening. I'm not saying that there aren't some good people, but we should have a merit-based system. You should be able to contribute something to the United States of America, or at the very least, you should have the program should be in place where there has to be a sponsor that says, okay, this person is coming into this country. They're going to come here legally, but in the meanwhile, I'm liable for this person. I'm going to help take care of this person so this person cannot get any welfare checks. Think about this. I want you to think about this, and I know I'm tying all of this together, but it all goes together. The Laken Riley murder at the University of Georgia by the illegal alien, what you're getting ready to see with the 60 Minutes crew, all of this stuff is tied in together. It all goes together. Because illegal immigration, it is a war on American citizenship. I cannot stress that enough. And we're going to sit here and pretend, and liberals are going to pretend like there's nothing to see at the border. It's just not, it's just not going to happen. What happened to Laken Riley has probably already happened to others. It will happen to others. You can't bring people from different parts of the world that have never been brought up under the rule of law, not the type of rule of law that we have, where there are certain consequences, where every cop virtually is crooked. You know what I'm saying? When you go to different countries, it's insane. It's just insane where we're at, man. I can't believe it. It's unbelievable. I feel so sad for the family that they have this nice young lady. I looked at a couple of social media posts or something, or texts that reporters had, and basically the mom was so excited that her daughter Laken was coming home for the Christmas holiday season, and just talking about how much she missed her. And now you have to get a call from the University of Georgia or from Athens police that say, listen, your young, beautiful daughter, college age, a full life ahead of her, career ahead of her, apparently a person of faith. She's gone. She's gone. The family has responded, but anyway, I'll let you touch on that. It's just our read on that. It's just so sad, and it's so unnecessary. It's so preventable. It's so preventable. Anyway, let me show you this clip. This is a video clip of the 60 Minutes crew, and again, they're in Sweden, and they're documenting or they're filming this no-go zone in Sweden. And they want to sit there and pretend like everything is hunky-dory, like the Muslims there are no different than anyone else, right? And it goes wrong really fast. And I'm going to explain to you why it did. But Gabe, go ahead and show this video, por favor.
And they don't assimilate well into the Swedish culture and society, and they're unemployed, and they're poor. So you add all these factors together, and their youth are feeling marginalized and don't speak Swedish very well, so they don't get jobs or get into the Swedish youth culture either.
But not everyone is hostile.
Oh, okay. Yeah, my cousin lives in Melbourne.
Many locals are polite and friendly and happy to talk.
It's good.
Yeah.
I'm very happy.
But what happened next changed everything. The police leave, and as we prepare to go, young men masking their faces arrive.
Good, you're doing good.
You're doing good?
Yeah.
Okay, very good.
Take it easy.
Okay, you too.
And attack.
Go! Mate! Go! Don't you touch me! Go! Okay, we're gonna drink.
Excuse me. No, please.
Get out of here. You don't want to be cheap.
No, we are leaving, but you don't need to hurt us. There's no need to be unkind. Hey.
You can't feel it. No, don't do it.
The gang's attention turns when a local intervenes and drives his mobility scooter into the most violent attacker.
Move. We've been individually attacked.
Yeah. All right. So here's the problem. We got a few takes on that I want to share with you guys because this is absolutely nutsos. This is what happens when liberals try to project Western worldviews on people that hate us. And that's exactly what's happening. That's why you can't go overseas in Muslim countries. Let's just be real and nation build. That's why this stuff never, ever works. It's why it will never, ever work. Liberals assume that they can go and be loving and compassionate, that people that view the world differently, that have a different worldview, and then, their compassion is going to win over the day. It just doesn't happen like that. It doesn't happen like that. Well, all they're trying to do is virtue signal. That's what 60 Minutes wants to do. That's what honestly, let's be real. You know what 60 Minutes wants to do? They're preparing for a Donald Trump presidency or Donald Trump winning the nomination. By the way, we'll get to that again. We'll get to that because Nikki Haley lost, and everyone knows it, and she's going to continue to lose. But I think Ari Fleischer put his hand on the trigger, so to speak. So we'll get to that. But these people want to virtue signal. These people on the left, they want to pretend like they're superior, like they're better than you. They want to pretend like, remember Trump said, hey, listen, they're not bringing their fineness, their so on, etc. I don't remember the exact quote. And it makes sense. It's common sense. Of course they're not. If people breaking in our country, of course the best of the best aren't showing up. You know what I'm saying? We don't know who they are. Drugs are coming into the country. We don't know what their IQ level is. We don't know what they can contribute. You have so many of them that are already taking money from the dole. Think about this. This is where I got lost earlier. Think about the welfare that many of these illegal aliens are getting compared to what it costs for a legal citizen or a person to immigrate here legally. Tens of thousands of dollars for people to be able to immigrate here legally, sometimes even more when they go through this long drawn out process of becoming a citizen. And yet you have people that are busting into the country, invading our country, that are getting welfare checks. Isn't it crazy? But this is nothing more than virtue signaling. This is a setup by 60-60. Oh, let's bash Republicans. Let's bash conservatives. Look at how nice the Muslims are. And it turns on them. Here's the issue. This is what makes America so great. This is what makes America so great. And I want you to hear this. Our Judeo-Christian heritage teaches and challenges all of us, all Americans, to love everyone. Doesn't mean you're going to like everyone, but in general, listen, this is a melting pot. We want you to come here legally. We want you to pursue your dreams. We want you to worship God freely as you choose, or not worship. That's fine too. But we love you, and we want you in the United States of America, and we want you to become like the U.S. Army commercials used to say. We want you to be all you can be. But when it comes to Muslims, they don't teach. Their heritage, their ideology isn't about a Judeo-Christian system that teaches us to love everyone and challenges us to love everyone. Their ideology is different. It teaches them to hate everyone if they're not Muslim. And they even kill amongst themselves big time. So anyway, that's all I have to say about that. Again, I would say pray for the family of Laken Riley. I just can't imagine getting that phone call, knowing that this was preventable. And now your daughter, your precious young daughter, is just dead. And God knows how gruesome the attack, it may have been, as more and more details continue to seep out about that. Okay, so more in the news real quick. Let me just address this real quick. Nikki Haley lost in South Carolina, and she lost big time. I'm not going to play audio clips Nikki Haley. I'm not going to play audio clips of Nikki Haley. I'm so done and through with Nikki Haley. I don't even really care, but I have to cover the news. She has no shot of winning. She thinks she's... Anyway, actually, let me let me let Ari Fleischer explain, and I'll explain why I think he's right. I didn't think this at first. At first, I wondered this. I didn't think this at first. But now, as it goes on, there's no other explanation. I thought she was trying to run to be the George H.W. Bush, where she would try to get so many delegates, and force Donald Trump to pick her as VP. She has been adamant that she does not want to be VP. The Koch brothers have backed out of supporting Nikki Haley going forward, but she's still apparently has some money, 52, Biden donors. So she's committed to staying in the race. But honestly, after Super Tuesday, I don't see how she stays in now, but definitely after Super Tuesday, I believe she's gone. If she stays beyond that, I will be shocked and amazed. But if she does stay, what Ari Fleischer says here is exactly what's happening. Let's go ahead and roll the video. Por favor, Gabe.
Your thoughts tonight, a big picture, what you heard from Nikki Haley and what this means in the big picture for Donald Trump.
I've been around a lot of these candidate speeches. I've written a few. That was a no-labels speech tonight by Nikki Haley. That was a speech when she says, no matter what, I am running. When she trashes Joe Biden, trashes Donald Trump, she is setting herself up to run down the middle. And look at what happened in South Carolina tonight. She won, according to the Fox voter analysis, independent voters by 19 percentage points tonight. Now, that's only 7% of the people who voted in the primary, which is why she got her clock cleaned in the primary by Donald Trump. But when you look at independent voters, she sees a huge group out there. And when you look at the country, independent voters are 43% of the country. Republicans are 27%, Democrats are 27%. So she is looking ahead and seeing a swath down the middle that doesn't like Biden, doesn't like Trump. I can just feel it. I watched it. My reaction was immediate. She is declaring. And so why won't she drop out of the race? Because she sees herself on the runway to something new. And when you see yourself on the runway, you don't pull your plane off the runway. You get ready to take off. That's what she's doing tonight.
I will say,
man, I mean, I love the way Ari Fleischer, he was such a great White House press secretary for George W. Bush. I mean, I believe that he was in my, my years of observing politics, I think he was just, the best. Then you have Sarah Huckabee Sanders. She was good. Kayleigh McEnany. They both were amazing under former President Trump. But Ari Fleischer, man, he was always so quick and so concise with the reporters, got his point across. The guy was just brilliant at communicating. And I think he's right. Again, like I said, I thought that Nikki Haley was literally, fighting for that George H.W. Bush lane to force herself on the ticket. But like he said, you have Republicans and Democrats that make up, high 27 points, I believe, each when it comes to votes in America, voting membership, if you will. But then you have that swath of independents in the middle that represent 40-something% of the votes. Here's where I think there's a disconnection, or where I believe that Nikki Haley is delusional, because a lot of people, first off, there's been some that South Carolina even was an open primary contest. I'm not sure about Michigan. Michigan, I believe, is tomorrow, and then you have Super Tuesday a week from tomorrow, so I'm not exactly sure about Michigan. But here's what I tend to believe. A lot of independents aren't necessarily independents. They're Democrats that are going to vote Democrat, and I would guess that they're mostly Democrat. And then there's some Republicans that feel disenfranchised. Maybe they are a little more moderate, but they oftentimes come home to vote. They will vote their pocketbooks. They will vote the issues that affect them. And so if they see Nikki Haley, even as a third-person candidate, as someone that can't win, I don't think they necessarily invest in Nikki Haley. And frankly, I don't believe she's motivating anyone. I seriously don't. I haven't looked at the exit numbers, the exit polling yet from South Carolina, but she is just not a motivational or an inspiring type candidate. She simply is not. I don't have anything against her on a personal level. I just think she's weak when it comes to policy. I think she sticks her finger in the air, and I think she determines where the wind blows. She likes playing identity politics. I think that's something we need to get past. We need to get past this Obama-era racism that continues to exist inside of the United States of America, and also inside of many of our institutions, we need to get rid of it. All right, so more in the news real quick. We've talked about Nikki Haley. We've talked about the Muslims that attacked the 60 Minutes crew. We've talked about, sadly, Laken Riley, again, a casualty of the left's war on American citizenship. And make no mistake about it, that's what it is. Why can illegal aliens get benefits when you have legal immigrants that have to pay buttloads of money to become American citizens? Because the left wants to conflate the two. Victor Davis Hanson wrote about this beautifully. And as a matter of fact, I'll share that with you in a second and just give you just real quick what they're trying to do. So Nikki Haley is out. Again, RNC Chair Ronna McDaniel has decided to resign after Super Tuesday. So frankly, in my opinion, that's great news. Unfortunately, I do think it's a little too late. All right. Ronna McDaniel, in my opinion, should have resigned quite some time ago. But she's decided to resign now. And now you're putting people in place when you have Trump going through all these trials, these persecutions that the left is putting him through. The ground game hasn't been great. Ronna McDaniel has done a better job, at least in the court system, of fighting election integrity issues. Hasn't been perfect, but at least she's been better there. But the ground game has absolutely stunk, and that is a big deal. Here's another bit of news I want to share with you. I thought this was interesting. SCOTUS, Justice Sotomayor, is now traveling with a medic. We all know that she's had health issues in the past, and this is from Newsmax, just real quick. Justice Sonia Sotomayor, the only current Supreme Court justice known to have required medical assistance during travels, has had attention brought to her health after records from the U.S. Marshals Service surfaced. The records revealed by the liberal watchdog group Fix the Court, they show that Sotomayor, who has type 1 diabetes, was accompanied by a medic on a trip to South Florida from Grand Junction, Colorado in February of 2018. This was a month after experiencing a low blood sugar episode at her home. The documents further disclose that on at least 4 occasions in 2021 and 2022, Sotomayor's luggage included medical gear or medical supplies, highlighting the ongoing health concerns for the 69-year-old justice. These revelations have sparked discussions among some about the potential implications for the Supreme Court's future, especially in light of the precedent set by the late Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg's decision not to retire during President Barack Obama's tenure. Basically, here's what's happening. The left is scared that her health problems will become an issue if Trump becomes the president of the United States again. And if she has to step down or, God forbid, passes away as a result of her diabetes, then he gets to appoint another judge. And that is what they do not want. They want to be able to replace Sotomayor if she leaves the court. They want to be able to replace Clarence Thomas or any conservative that leaves the court. I am praying to God that Justice Clarence Thomas' health stays, in tip-top shape. So, very interesting story. Here's another one that I just want to share real quickly. This mysterious balloon that was spotted soaring across the United States of America. Another one. All right, so this had to New York Post. The mysterious high-altitude balloon spotted soaring the western U.S. was simply a hobbyist device and has already left American airspace. This, according to a report, federal investigators tracked the small balloon flying at an altitude between 43 and 45,000 feet until it traversed beyond U.S. lines sometime during the night. The North American Aerospace Defense Command told CBS News fighter jets from NORAD, the nation's airspace watchdog, intercepted the balloon shortly as it hovered over Utah on Friday. See, here's the problem. We don't know what to believe anymore, right? Who's the hobbyist? This may be true. This may be totally innocent, if you will, but I'd like to know who's the hobbyist. I'd like this guy or gal, I'm assuming it would be a guy. I'd like this guy or gal interviewed. I really want to know, because I don't believe anything that comes out of the administration's mouth. And certainly CBS News, I mean, you guys heard the story last week where they got rid of Catherine Herridge. They tried to pretend like they were getting rid of her in this big layoff that was happening at CBS and kept some damning documents that she had on Hunter Biden and Joe Biden. And so now they're working to get that back. That was a huge story, and actually it should be a sole podcast, frankly. But anyway, although officials were unsure of the balloon's origin, they immediately determined that the balloon, which was not maneuverable, posed no hazard to flight safety. One official told CBS News that it appeared to be made of mylar and a small cube-shaped box about 2 feet long on each side, hanging below it. So interesting. They say it's not a threat. Apparently, allegedly, it has nothing to do with China spying on us again, but we don't know. Okay, last bit of news that I want to actually. This is a headline. Venezuela stops accepting flights of illegals deported from U.S. While a Venezuelan just killed Laken Riley. Israel rejects an insane demand from Biden to stop targeting Hamas-controlled police forces in Gaza. And right now, as a matter of fact, just so you know, I think this Israeli war is really important because they are our best ally and pretty much our only ally in the Middle East. And right now there are some negotiations that are going on that I think are extremely important. Biden has also placed hundreds of new sanctions on Russia or against Russia. They're going to have little to no effect. Remember the first round of sanctions they placed on Vladimir Putin. They did okay for a short period of time, and then they figured out how to get around them, and they just started working with China, and Biden kisses China's butt. So Russia is doing fine. Here's what the Daily Wire has to say about that. This round of sanctions is likely to be more symbolic than it is impactful. Council on Foreign Relations senior fellow Charles Kupchan said the initial tranche of sanctions issued after Russia's invasion of Ukraine saw the Russian economy constrict. Shortly after, Russia's economy regained its footing. However, Russian businesses and industry, after a momentary shock as the sanctions set in, found new supply chains and buyers, especially through China, as well as loopholes that allowed their products to get into Western markets. The latest round of sanctions will impact some of those loopholes through the overall impact, though the overall impact to Russia will be minimal. So they just went to China. They just started buying and trading stuff with China. But you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. You can go to mypillow.com and get some American-made products, right? Just use the promo code Carl. Click on the radio podcast square. Enter my name, Carl, C-A-R-L, and there's a bunch of products that are available to you for prices that are very, very cheap. Great deals right now headed into spring. So check that out, mypillow.com. Promo code Carl. American jobs, American manufacturing, get nice rest, and great quality products. 10-year warranty, 60-day money-back guarantee, mypillow.com. All right, just real quick. Israel lays out its plan for the post-war Gaza Strip. Apparently, they're saying the plans were rolled out for discussion among Israel's government in what the Jerusalem called a brief document that divided the situation into 3 periods, and that includes immediate, short, and long term. The Jerusalem Post reports the Israeli army will retain securing control of the Gaza Strip and the West Bank once the war is over, and a local Palestinian governance of technocrats will rule over the enclave. In another bit of news, Israel mulls over a ceasefire with Hamas. Israel, this according to National Review, is negotiating a deal with Hamas that could result in the release of 40 hostages in exchange for a 6-week ceasefire. Netanyahu wasn't down for that at first, but apparently that's changed. Although Israel is still far from a deal, quote unquote, one Israeli official told Axios. Some progress, quote unquote, was made in the negotiations this week. This according to a U.S. official. The agreement would also require Israel to release several hundred Palestinian prisoners, some of whom were convicted of murdering Israelis, in exchange for 40 medically vulnerable or female Israeli civilians. All right, now, last thing, and we'll close this out just real quick. Victor Davis Hanson wrote about this before. I've talked about this before, and that is simply what's happening. It is the death or dying citizenship or dying of the American citizen. I forget exactly how he framed it at the time, but here's what a gentleman wrote that was opining on the column, and he just takes some of the snippets from Hanson's column. But he says this: Hanson contends that in the U.S. as well as in much of Western Europe, citizenship is now being undermined and weakened by conflating citizens with residents and aliens. And that's exactly what we see happening in the United States, with illegal aliens getting benefits that they have no business being able to get, and some being allowed to vote in certain areas although it was just shot down in New York, thank God. Be they illegally or even illegally present, as if simply residing in a certain territory was all that citizenship entailed. This subversion of the centrality of citizenship is exhibited in a variety of ways, including tolerating and normalizing illegal migration, while simultaneously conflating illegal migrants with the legal immigrants. The degradation of the value of citizenship includes allowing non-U.S. citizens, even illegal aliens, to receive state assistance. New York, Chicago, and other benefits, sanctuary policies that explicitly shield those who violate immigration laws, disincentivizing or at least not promoting assimilation. All right, so if you enforce immigration laws, you're the racist. But people can break into the country. It's just amazing. And otherwise claiming that illegal aliens are no less American and deserve no fewer rights than U.S. citizens. You've heard that before, right? And you're going to continue to hear that. That's how the left is going to fight back. They're going to try to focus on issues like abortion. We can stay focused on this. We should be tearing up their hides on this issue. Concurrently, anti-American and anti-Western identity politics, which Hansen also refers to as tribalism, further works to dissolve the bonds that hold our civic nation together. And that's what the left will do, and that's what they will do. At some point, it's going to be almost like the Bible, a man against woman, father against child, all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? It's going to be legals against illegals, American residents against illegal. It's what they do. It's divide and conquer. But make no mistake about it. This is exactly what the globalists and the left want to do. This is the delusion of the American citizen. The American citizen is what the globalists fear. The American citizen has believes in their God-given rights. They can't have that because these globalists want to make sure that we believe that they are God and they get to call all the shots. So they can't stand the American citizen. And the American citizen is what's standing in these global elites' way to tear down this country. And sadly, that's what Laken Riley found herself the victim of. She is the victim of the casualty of war that has been waged on the American citizen. Guys, I appreciate you tuning in to this edition of the Carl Jackson Show podcast. Again, would you please subscribe to the podcast wherever you go to get your podcast? Apple, Google, Spotify, YouTube, and Rumble. All right, we appreciate you tuning in. Follow me on all things social media. Until next time, don't grow weary doing good. God bless you.